Another day, another ride. Hello dear viewer. The facilities at Camping Plitvice were more than good. Beautiful sanitary facilities, a nice big swimming pool and an excellent restaurant. But whether all that justifies a price of almost 40 euros a night for one person with a tent right next to the public road, where at 5 in the morning a farmer on a tractor passed by with a lot of noise. Although the food in the restaurant was excellent, it was not cheap. Main courses for less than 20 euros were not to be found on the menu. The reception staff could communicate more clearly. For example, you had to indicate what kind of bread you wanted in the morning, after which you were given a form and the message that you could pick them up in the restaurant. When I wanted to do that, I was told that I had to pay for them at the reception first. It would have been very nice if that had been told directly when ordering. Also, they wanted to keep my passport at the reception upon arrival, but when I paid in advance, that was suddenly no longer necessary. Give visitors the choice. The waiter of the restaurant was a very nice young man. When I came back from the reception somewhat irritated after paying for the bread and asked him for a cup of coffee, he immediately said, "This is on the house." The only real advantage of the campsite was that it was located close to the entrance of Plitvice National Park. I decided to go to a campsite near Krka National Park today. After seeing the waterfalls in Plitvice, I'm curious how they compare to the ones in Krka. The distance of the route is approximately 190 kilometers and will take about 4 hours. Turn right, was the instruction from Hilleberg. Not much later you see the sign. I had no idea what the text meant, but because of the image of the deer, I suspected that you were entering a game area. A little later you see that the road changes into a car track, which makes you doubt whether you should continue. But Tricsy and I have driven such paths more often, so you think, what does it matter, I'll just go. After about 2 kilometers the direction at the junction is keep left. So I do that, and immediately after that the nice voice of the lady in Hilleberg says, follow this road for 17 kilometers. And then you think, what have I gotten myself into? And when you see electric fences hanging across the road you ask yourself, where have I ended up? There were parts in the road where the ground clearance of Tricsy was insufficient and I regularly heard a loud thump at the bottom. It was also quite a slide with the front wheels. Luckily, after about 7 kilometers I reached an asphalt road again, so I didn't have to drive the entire 17 kilometers on unpaved roads. Besides this road, today's route also included some tough climbs and descents, including one with a gradient of 17%. Despite the fact that my girl has a hard time with this, she still takes me everywhere I go. I'm so proud of Tricsy. By the way, when I later translated the text on the sign, it turned out that the area was not only a breeding ground for game, but also a hunting ground.